Yeah, the killer, right?
Yeah.
So the dead slinger is
Yeah.
how we call this gentleman. And for this killer, we wanted to go to a new setting. So we're going to the Wild West.
Yeah, an interesting choice. So we've been talking about this a little bit internally for a while.
Yeah.
Why this time? Why wait all this time?
Well, actually, we had an idea for the power. You know, that power is something we wanted to do for a long time. Guns is something we wanted to do for a long time
Yeah.
in DBD. Actually, he's not the first one with a gun. The Hillbilly is the first one with a gun.
True
But
story.
It's a club, yeah. And so I'm also a huge fan of the Dark Tower and of Cowboy in general.
Are we supposed to talk about this? Because I'm a huge fan too.
I think we can
Okay,
say
so,
it. We've said
yeah.
it before.
But this is not the gunslinger.
No, absolutely not. Of
nothing
course.
to
But
do?
like everything in the realm of Western cowboys is very alluring to me. It's really good. So I always wanted to do that. And so yeah, it's a reaction we get internally, right? When we say, hey, we're gonna do horror cowboy,
It's like,
and it's just like,
what?
what?
Like,
Ow.
what's next?
It's
Pirates?
Yeah, ninjas and pirates. Yeah. So it's never gonna work, right? But yeah, we made it work. The team did an amazing job with it.
Okay, so a little
Right.
bit more about Caleb. What kind of
Yeah.
guy is he?
So Caleb is of Irish descent, right? So it's a tale of an immigrant that gets walked all over. So his father's an engineer, and he learns how to be an engineer himself. And all his life, he's gonna invent, create all sorts of contraption that would help living in the Wild West, like helping workers. But he, like his father, he always get walked on. People will steal his invention from him, steal his patent, and then get rich with these invention, and he loses all. So at some point, he's just gonna snap, and he's gonna use one of his invention to assault his boss. So miraculously, this guy doesn't die, but he will be in prison. So Caleb's going to be in prison for 15 years, just thinking about revenge and how he's gonna get out and get this guy killed.
Not the most healthy of behaviors, but okay.
No, exactly.
It explains what he's doing right now. So talk a little bit about the bounty hunter fantasy, like why we wanted to play in there.
Absolutely. So just to finish the story and why he gets to be a bounty hunter is that he gets a deal with the warden of the prison where he's kept. So use your invention to get me some prisoner in this prison because it's a business and I want to get rich. So he gets out and invent this spear gun, which allows him to get bounties alive to fill the prison.
Alive-ish.
Yeah, alive-ish. So some mistakes were made, some people died, but now he can get them alive. So there's something really alluring in the Western team as being a bounty hunter. There's something really powerful in there,
Yeah.
and it fits so well into the Dead by Daylight game, right? Because you're not trying to kill them, you're trying to get the bounty and give the bounty to the entity. So it works really, really well.
That's very, very cool. So he's the first one who brings in, well, I mean, the killer's always been first person, but now we have a first person shooter, literally. How the hell did we go around doing that?
So basically the power really feels like you're controlling a soldier in a first-person shooter game where it's really responsive. It's
you
fast,
aim down the sights and everything.
You aim well. You shoot fast. So everything is just like a gun. But the fact that it's a spear and you need to reel in, that fantasy of being able to catch them and bring them back with a piece of machine is really interesting. And
Yeah, it's super fun. Next, let's talk a little bit about our survivor, our
Yeah.
new survivor for this chapter, Zarina.
Yeah, Zarina. Yeah, you can tell it with an accent if you want. It's
Yeah,
fine.
well, I guess.
Yeah, so Zarina is a young woman that basically had a traumatic event where her father gets murdered, gets in a hate crime. So basically, her father gets pushed in front of a car.
Yeah.
And nothing really happens out of this. There's no news about it. There's no nothing. Everybody,
Like
no
nobody
one
cares.
cares. Nobody
Yeah.
cares. And so this inspires her to do film. So she's a filmmaker.
Yep.
To do film about these stories that never get told. So she has a very interesting personality and set of skills. So she goes in and infiltrate companies or groups to be able to get answers and to create movies and to get the truth and get justice out in the world for
It's
everybody
kind
to
of a
notice.
super intense story. Like the stories of our survivors are not always traumatic. Some are almost mundane, but this one is really like it's very tragic and it's very harsh.
And again, in these broadcasts, I never do it justice. You
Yeah.
need to read the full story
That's it.
to really understand like the depth of what's going on.
Okay, so do that. Go check the CG trailers and go read the story and really dig into that one.
Yeah.
It's
And the cool thing with Zarina, so how this story and personality translate is in the perks, right? So Guillaume is going to go
Yeah.
in detail again, but like we wanted all of these perks to be documentarists, filmmaker related, and also a little bit like she feels like she's almost like a spy, you know, like infiltrating and getting the news out. So that's what we wanted to do with the perks.
Well, that's good. I do like the wide range of characters that we have in the game. I think that's part of. Hopefully, some people who play the game can see themselves somehow. Hopefully, nobody has had that tragic events in their lives, but some have. It's that like life is like that. All right, next up, let's talk a little bit about the saloon.
Right.
So the map that we made is, I think it's probably I mean, we've done some strange steps in the map making, but this one is taking you somewhere else.
Yes, very interesting map, very, very different. And so something that the players, the community will see now is that the maps are transitioning to a new look. You know, like since 2016 when we started, you know, early beginnings, we had to create maps into a very strict amount of components, and now we're kind of breaking that and making it, well, I think better. So you'll see elements in that saloon map in Glenvale. You'll see that the exit gate is different, the switch to open the exit gate is different.
Even the skyline is
Yeah,
quite
absolutely.
drastically
Like,
different.
the whole border is different, and you know the fact that you have this very rich, like there's a lot of different interiors in there, a lot of different buildings, is very different. And
Yeah.
also we have the breakable wall now that's in there.
Yeah, that's a huge deal for some people out there because
mean,
it
like-
won some bets. But
To lower expectation, you're not going to be able to destroy whatever you want, and you're not going to be able to destroy buildings.
which
and-
is how we talked about it in that early dev
Yes.
diary, I think, with Ash
and
way back when.
It's not the smasher. It's not what's going to happen.
No.
Yeah, the idea of the breakable walls is to be able to modulate some of the chase loops that are in there. So it's still very impactful in the gameplay balance of
Yeah.
the map. So hopefully it's going
And,
to be.
important to know also, it's only in the new map right now.
Yes.
As a test, because I mean it's such. I mean, maybe we didn't understand it when we first built the first few maps, but the importance of the layout of the map and the timing of all the elements, level design has become an extreme science here at the Behavior Studio.
We didn't understand in the depth we do today.
That's it.
With all
So
the analytics of the maps.
If we
absolutely.
bring in a new gameplay mechanic like the breakable wall, we have to make sure to understand it correctly and apply it well to existing maps, which the plan is to actually implement this
Yes.
in earlier maps
Yes.
once we've understood better how it affects gameplay.
And it's going to become a tool to be able to address some of the gameplay balance issues that might exist in some map. So let's go
very
back to the
exciting.
saloon. Actually,
Yeah.
so the player was also going to see that it's a very rich map. There's a lot of interactivity around. There's a lot more like there's some vultures around. There's a lot more like audio of the wild, basically
Yeah.
of things that are around. So it stands out in that aspect as well. And last but not least, the lighting is very different. We have
Yeah.
like this. We actually see the sun in that map.
Yeah.
So it's just before, like in the evening. So it creates very strong shadows. So it's definitely a different type of way to play, as you can create very strong silhouettes in the open area with that type of light.
Thank you very much, Dave. Now I'm going to try something extremely dangerous that I've been asked to try. Okay, bear with me. Okay, hang on. Hold your breath So, let me introduce my friend here, Guillaume Bourque, one of our resident gameplay designers.
Hello, Matt.
Hi. So, what do you mostly focus on killers, right?
Yeah, new content, but basically 95% of the time is going to be new killers.
Cool.
Yep.
So, let's talk about Caleb's power specifically.
Is spear gun.
Yeah, the Redeemer.
Yes. So the idea, and I think Dave touched base on it, was that at the beginning we wanted to have the first-person shooter feeling in our game. So basically, you hold the weapon, you hold it like a first person, you go aim down sight really quickly, you shoot, you reload. So basically, when you use the weapon, you feel at ease or at home if you already played.
Most players will feel completely comfortable with that.
Exactly. So that's one thing, and then after that, the player can focus on hunting, finding survivor, and not struggling with the mechanic,
Yep.
basically.
Cool. And so we took the whole aiming down the sights thing, and we took the whole gun, but that's sort of where it stops. Because
Yes.
after that, there's no bullet.
Yeah, because there were another rule that we established really quickly. It was that the actual projectile was not making or doing the damage.
Okay.
So you needed to work a little bit more to be able to injure and down survivors. Where
Because it would have been, well, easy. Nothing is easy in Dead by Daylight to design. But it would have been easy to say, I shoot you, you lose a health level, let's move on.
bang, you're dead.
But I'm not sure it would have been for a good gameplay.
No, I don't think people would have liked it in Dead by Daylight because we're not a shooter game, we're a survival horror game.
And the rhythm of the game is not the same.
Exactly. So basically, the gun is there to put a twist on the chase mechanic, maybe shorten chases, get a hang of a survivor where you wouldn't have normally. That's where the range and the speed
And
of
a
the
few
weapon.
surprises from afar.
Yes. And then that's where the real mechanic comes in, where suddenly you're in that mode where it gets up close and personal with the survivor with the killer.
Yep.
The cameras are facing each other, so basically you cannot get away from it, or almost. And then it's for the killer the moment where if you're able to reel the survivor, where it's really easy to basically just reel the survivor who cannot get away and hit him.
It's interesting also because we created a new moment. Usually you're either in a chase or you've downed them and then you're sort of doing the rest of the stuff. But there's a prep phase that exists for a few killers, like the trapper puts down traps and things like that. But the moment when you've hooked someone and you're reeling them in is a moment you're not in a chase, and it's still possible for them to get away.
Exactly.
But it's pretty done.
Yeah. So if you know you're gonna hit the survivor and your chances are good, it's a feel good moment.
Yep.
Basically, it's hitting someone who cannot get away.
So how do survivors escape once they're hooked?
Yes, this is something we
They're not hooked. We have what's the term?
speared.
Speared. Okay.
yes,
So
because-
how do they escape once they're speared?
There's a few ways to escape, basically, or break free from the chain. How we call it. The first one is basically if the killer doesn't reel you and you do nothing, over time the chain's.
So there's
gonna-
a timer.
Yeah, there's a timer. The chain's gonna break. So if the killer was to go get a coffee, when he comes back, the survivor is gonna be gone.
All right.
That's one thing. The other thing, the survivor can struggle and pull back. So trying to move backwards or sideways gonna pull some tension basically on the chain, and it's gonna make it break faster.
Okay.
And the third way is to put an obstacle, the environment, another survivor, in between the killer and the survivor, in between the chain. So if the chain hits a collision, it's going to build the tension even more.
Okay.
So if a survivor is able to do both at the same time,
like around a corner, around a tree or
pull
something.
pull back, and then bring the chain, like move behind the tree, they're going to be able to escape.
Before they get in range for an attack.
Exactly. At the same time, the killer can move as well, so he can drag the survivor away from.
So there's a bit of a struggle there.
Oh, yeah.
It's like fishing, really.
Exactly. So there's a lot of strategy, both for the killer and the survivor, actually, to be able to land your shot and actually hit the survivor or escape. Good survivor will get in position where they rarely get.
Does it have anything to do with the fact that a lot of the really, really big open world games out there have a fishing mechanic and we're trying to bank on that?
I don't know if we can say that. I don't think so.
Okay, just checking. So what happens if a survivor breaks free before he's fully reeled in?
Okay, so if he breaks free, basically we want to reward the killer for landing a hit. So if a survivor is healthy, he lands a hit, but the survivor breaks free, the survivor is going to get injured and it's going to get the deep wound status effect.
So you get injured and you get deep wound.
Exactly. Well, basically applying deep wound also injure the survivor. The thing is with deep wound, it doesn't down injure survivor. So basically what we do is every time you escape, the chain breaks free, the survivor gets deep wound. If he's healthy, he gets injured. If he's injured, he stays injured. So we didn't want, so basically if he's healthy, you're gonna get your reward as a killer. Though if he's injured, you really need to be able to reel him.
You need
hit
to
him
close
with
the
weapon.
deal.
Yeah, exactly. So we thought that was what makes it the most fair for both.
Also, it makes it more rewarding for the killer. You have to struggle a little bit and earn that bounty.
Yes, and that's why it was really important for us to try to nail the balance in between how often the survivor gets away and breaks free, and how often you're able to reel them in. And this is still something with the PTB we're gonna look at. But basically, this is the one of the most important thing for that mechanic actually to be worthwhile.
Cool. So let's quickly go over the perks for the killer. People are always super excited about perks. And an interesting bit, at least for me, and it keeps getting more and more interesting, I feel, is that whenever we bring in a new perk in the game, like we test it with a few combinations that we can think of, but at some point there's no way, and it's getting harder and harder to test all the possible combinations of perks versus all the other combinations possible.
Totally.
So there's some really interesting stuff that's going to pop up out of that.
Yes.
The first one is called, I believe, Gearhead.
Okay, so I'm going to read it out loud so we can understand what it does. So after hitting a survivor 2 times with your basic attack, Gearhead activates for a short duration.
Yep.
Anytime a survivor completes a skill check while repairing a generator, its aura will be revealed for as long as it's being repaired. So basically, it's a detection perk for the killer.
It's a good one.
Pretty good, easy to trigger. It's our kind of entry-level perk for this.
And it's not the survivor that got hit by the attack. It's, You just need to attack twice for the perk to be active.
I hit you twice. Someone's repairing a generator. It's a skill check.
There you go.
Aura appears. Yeah.
Second one is called Dead Man's Switch.
Yes. So after hooking the obsession, Dead Man's Switch activates. Any survivor that stops repairing a generator before it's fully repaired will cause the entity to block the generator until the Dead Man's Switch deactivates for a short duration. So if you, when the perk's activated, if you stop repairing a generator,
you have to commit.
Exactly, the generator will be blocked by the entity.
All right. I always like those perks that disable gens for a bit.
Anything that slows down the game and the gen repair progress is usually pretty useful.
And any obsession perks is always a good ground for a lot of weird combos.
Yes.
And the last one is a hex perk called X Retribution.
Exactly. So any survivor who cleanses a dull totem will suffer the Oblivious status effect for a brief duration. And any X totems that are cleansed, the auras of all survivors will be revealed for a moment as well.
So anybody who likes playing with hexes will have a good time with this.
Exactly.
All right, that's good. Anything else you want to add on the gameplay of the killer?
I mean, we had a good time, and it's fun because we knew we wanted we knew the marks we wanted to hit with the shooting mechanic, and then the actual reeling mechanic was quite challenging technically and visually because there was some first time for Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
For example, being able to move another character because you cannot like push another character in Dead by Daylight.
No.
But suddenly you
You
were
can
able
block
to push
them.
Yeah, you can block
transport
them. You cannot push them. So suddenly the killer could drag survivor around. So when we requested that in prototype phase, that was a pretty big deal to be able to move other character around in the match. And also for the chain, for example, it was really easy at the beginning to get like a debug chain, just like a solid, like bright color link between the survivor and the killer.
But making it look good.
Yeah, look an actual chain, and suddenly it looked like a chain. And can we have it like do something like a bit like a wave, and when it comes back, it's like snaps like that, and it came out great, you know. But we didn't believe we could get all of this looking that good in the
Well,
short
we have
amount
to
of time.
push a little bit once in a while.
And the team is good. The team is getting quite good.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have to pick our battles, though.
Yes, yes, but I think we picked the right one, and it paid off in spades.
I think the end result speaks for itself.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Zarina and her perk, please.
Yes, so the first one, off the record. And once you're unhooked or escape from the hook, off the record activates. And when the perk is active, your aura will not be shown to the killer, and grunts of pain will be silenced.
Okay. Side note here, if a journalist tells you that something's off the record, do not believe them. There's no such thing as off the record.
True story.
True story. All right. The next one is called Red Herring.
Okay, after briefly working on a generator, you'll see its aura in yellow. The generator will be highlighted until it's fully repaired, unless you start working on a different generator or enter a locker. What happens here? Entering a locker will trigger a loud noise indicator for the killer at the highlighted generator's location. And there's going to be a lengthy cooldown to the perk.
So in the realm of the pebble kind of thing.
Yes,
where you can,
diversion.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm here, but I'm not messing around a bit with the playing in the killer's head.
So that's definitely a perk that's going to be super fun when you're trying to screw with people. I'm like, it's one of those perks that I don't see it becoming a part of the meta of people who want to win every single game, but people who want to screw with people are going to have a blast with that. And I think this perk will be better if fewer people use it, because then you're actually not going to believe that it's the perk.
It's like
it's going to be great.
It's like crying wolf.
Exactly. It's exactly like that.
I'm gonna get tricked with people because I just like.
But it's like the
God knows.
pebble. You're like when everybody was using the pebble because it was the new perk.
Nobody
You're like,
cared.
But now when you get hit with the pebble, you're like, what's that?
Totally.
It's great. Anyway, the last one is called For the People.
Yeah, for the people, if you're at full health, you can instantly heal a survivor from dying to injured or from injured to healthy. In the process, you become injured yourself, you receive the broken status effect, and you become the obsession.
So,
And,
I was gonna say that's pretty intense. Like that's a critical perk.
yeah, but some people like to do that, take the hit, be the hero basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And
yeah.
equipping this perk reduces your odds of becoming the obsession at the start of the trial.
So even just for that, would it be worth taking it? So if it doesn't happen, you at least not the obsession, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I think this one has a chance to actually make it into some of the top builds on
Yeah,
there.
we're gonna see that.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Did you want to share more? It's your time. If you want to say hi to your mom or something, this is your moment.
I mean, this was like really fun to work on that killer. We had a great time from the beginning. Early in the prototyping phase, we had a lot of fun with the mechanics, so we knew we owed on something.
We knew we had something good from the start.
Yeah, exactly. So we could double down on our effort. It got everyone excited about the killer and the mechanic. It was simple, but efficient.
No, but it's true, and we took a lot of chances because some of these were challenges. Some of these were not obvious how to do, but it's like I think everybody, as soon as we tested the early prototypes, were like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good.
And now we can check it from our list. We have a gun in Dead by Daylight.
Well, as we said with Dave, we already had a gun. The hillbilly has the first gun in Dead by Daylight, but yeah, we have a gun that shoots stuff now.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
we're off to the next one, basically.
All right. Well, you've been on the next one for a bit now. That's usually how it works. So, can you tell us anything about that?
Oh yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for spending a little time with us. Hope you had a good time. We certainly did. And you can get your hands on the Chapter 15 for Dead by Daylight, The Chains of Hate, March 10.